Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf on this hot and sticky Sunday, the 2nd of June. I guess we are just skipping spring these days. We go right from cold, rainy winter weather to hot summer weather, and we have 30 degrees here today in Cologne. Anyway, today's video is a celebration. It's the birthday of the Reading Women podcast in June. If you're not familiar with the podcast run by Kendra Winchester, who you all know, of course, because she has a booktube channel, and her friend Autumn Privet, I leave a link to the podcast down below so you can check it out. They do interviews, theme-related book reviews. They have a year-long challenge which encourages you with prompts to read more women. But in June is their third anniversary. They started on the 1st of June 3 years ago. And so June is always their celebratory Reading Women month. I will leave a link to Kendra's announcement video also down below so you can check that out. But basically it's Reading Women for the whole month of June, and they always come up with prompts. But this year they even came up with a bingo card. So you can look at the prompts in a row across diagonally and try to make a bingo. And of course, you know me, I love a bingo. The challenge of making a bingo. But anyway, so I chose the diagonal line. If you start on the top left with Aussie author and then go down to mystery, and I will also try to do a second bingo starting on the second row from the bottom. So what I will do is I will go through the two rows of prompts that I chose, the one diagonal and the one across, and I'll tell you the books that I picked to fit each prompt. So we start on the top left corner with Aussie author, and the book I picked is a memoir, The Erratics by Vicky Laveau Harvey. Vicky Laveau Harvey was born in Canada, but she has moved to Australia decades ago, and she is considered an Australian author. This book also won this year's Stellar Prize, and if you're not familiar with the Stellar Prize, go check out the link that I will leave down below. In short, it's a prize for female writing, Australian authors, fiction and non-fiction. This book is also a debut, and it is the personal account from the perspective of the author about her and her sister's relationship with her parents, starting when the elderly parents who live in a remote farmhouse in Canada, the mother falls in the kitchen and breaks her hip. And the two daughters who haven't seen their parents for quite a while because the relationship isn't good, they go there and try to sort things out. For the mother, who is quite clearly, that's not a spoiler, it's on the first page, is quite clearly mentally ill. So they try to sort things out for her, but also for the father. That's all I'm going to say about this book. I'm looking forward to reading it, and as my pick for the first prompt, Aussie author. The second prompt in the diagonal row is memoir by a female writer of color. And for that one, I picked Yiyun Li's memoir, Dear Friend, From My Life, I Write to You in Your Life, published in 2017. You might remember that I talked about this author back in February when she came out. A new book by her came out, also a memoir, Where Reason Ends, where she deals or tries to deal with the suicide of her son. This earlier work is also dealing with mental health, but with her own. Yiyun Li was born in China, but she moved to the US. She writes in English, and she suffered from a severe depression, and this is her memoir about this period in her life when she tried to find a way out, and it turned out that reading was her way to overcome her depression. I've been meaning to read this book for quite some time, and I was prompted again, not only by the Reading Women month bingo card, but also by a wonderful review done by Sean from Sean the Book Maniac, who read this book last month in May, and the book had a quite deep emotional impact on him. I leave a link to his video down below, and you should absolutely watch it. So this is my pick for the second prompt, Memoir by a Woman of Color. The next bingo tile in the diagonal line is free space. You can probably now guess why I picked this particular bingo row. Because free space, you can just pick any book you want as long as it's by a female author. And I picked Joyce Carol Oates' new book, My Life as a Rat, which just comes out beginning of June. And I have a copy provided by NetGalley, thank you very much. And I wanted to read it anyway, so perfect. It fits the free space prompt, of course. I talked about this book in my TBR June video. So very briefly, it's the story told from the perspective of Violet when she is quite old, looking back on her life and the incident that influenced the rest of her life, because when she was a young girl, 10 or 12, she informed on her brothers who committed a racist murder, and they were arrested and convicted, and it led to estrangement of Violet, of course, from the family. And then, in the novel, she looks back. I'm always eager to read the new Joyce Carol Oates, even though I'm not even close to have read the backlist, but now that I have this book from NetGalley, I'm eager to read it soon. So for this free space, Joyce Carol Oates, My Life as a Rat. The next bingo square in my diagonal line is Asian author, and I don't have to pick a book for that because I already picked a book for a different prompt. Yiyun Li's memoir, Dear Friend, From My Life, I Write to You in Your Life, because she is an Asian author. So 2 bingo squares in 1 stone or something like that. I know, Sean, I still have to do your tag, 2 books in 1 stone, but we'll get to that. But anyway, so this for the Asian author, I picked the same book that I picked for the memoir by a woman of color. Moving on to the last tile, mystery. And for this book, for this prompt, I picked a book that I've been meaning to read for quite some time. I think I mentioned it in a TBR video to be released last year, and that is Amy Molloy, The Perfect Mother, which came out last spring in 2018. It's a mystery about a group of women. They call themselves the May Mothers because all their children have been born in the same month, and they meet regularly. And one day they decide, to not only meet with the babies in the park, but to meet just the mothers in a bar. And that same night, one of the children goes missing. The police, from what I understand from the blurb, doesn't do that much, so the mothers start to investigate themselves. And as I used to say, plot ensues. It sounds like, your good average mystery novel, and Amy Molloy is a debut author. I'm always interested in that, that, and now that I found it on script, I picked this one for the mystery prompt. So those are my books for my first bingo row. But I'm competitive. I want to finish a second bingo row, and as I told you, I chose one across, the second from the bottom, starting with Road Trip. And for this prompt, I chose a book that I had already scheduled to read in June as a buddy read with Sean from Sean the Book Maniac, and that is Valeria Luiselli, Lost Children Archive, published earlier this year. This book was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction, but didn't make the shortlist, and it's the last book on the long list that I haven't read. And you know me, completist. I wanted to read it anyway, and Sean wanted to read it as well. So we scheduled a buddy read, and lo and behold, it fits a prompt. Valeria Luiselli is originally a Mexican writer. She's born in Mexico, but now lives in New York. And this book is the first book that she published, or that she wrote in English. It's a road trip. a father and a mother together with the father's 10-year-old son and the wife's 5-year-old daughter in a car from New York City to New Mexico, the desert, and crisis comes, and it's also supposed to tackle issues of children crossing the border from Mexico into the US. So there might be some political overtones in it. That's basically all I know, but I'm looking forward to reading it with Sean, keeping my fingers crossed that he won't bail. So that's my book for the road trip prompt, Lost Children Archive. The next prompt square tile in this road in this row across. I'm still thinking of the road trip. Anyway, in this row across is mental health, and I already picked a book for another prompt that fits this one as well. Actually two, because Vicky Laveau Harvey's memoir as well as Yiyun Li's memoir, they both fit the mental health prompt, so I don't have to pick a book for this one. Again, one book, two stones or something. Anyway, and then the next prompt in this row is a graphic novel. And if you've been following me for some time, you will think, what? She's reading a graphic novel? She never reads graphic novels, which is true. I hardly ever read graphic novels. I don't know. It's not a genre that appeals to me greatly, and I have mostly, that's my fault, not the genre's fault, mostly because I have no clue about graphic novels. But I was in luck, because for the Read Around the World book club that I've mentioned a gazillion times on this channel already, it's a book club run by Mel over at Mel's Bookland Adventures. I leave links to the Goodreads group down below, and in this particular book club we read a book by a woman from a different country each month. And as luck will have it, in June the pick was a graphic novel by an Egyptian author, Donia Mahar. Tried to find out how that's pronounced, but couldn't find help on the internet, so I'm sorry about that. The Apartment in Bab el Luk, and it's a poem about living in an apartment, a very short book, but it won the graphic novel prize. It was published in Arabic in 2014. I want to expand my horizon. A graphic novel was picked for Mel's book club, so I will read this one for the graphic novel prompt. The next prompt in this row is Asian author. You're not surprised, I don't have to pick a book for this prompt because I picked a book for a different prompt that fits this one as well, and that's of course Yiyun Li's memoir, so I will use it to fill this prompt as well. So there's only one left, and that is the last one, Borrowed. And again, the universe conspired to help me to fill all these prompts, because I don't often borrow books. I mean, I can't use the library here in Germany very often because they don't have English books, or hardly any. But a friend of mine gave me a book to read a couple of weeks ago because she loved it so much and thought I would love it too. And that's a German book, Lea Singer, Der Klavierschüler, the Piano Student, published in 2019. Lea Singer is a German author, and it's a pseudonym. Her name is Eva Gesine Bauer. She was born in 1960 in Germany, and she uses this pseudonym for her fictional work. The book is set in the late 1980s in Switzerland, and we meet a pianist who works in a bar, and he happens to help somebody who is on the verge of committing suicide, and together they go on a journey into the past. And obviously we meet a lot of musical characters, Horowitz, Toscanini, the Toscanini family. I wanted to read more German literature anyway, so when my friend gave me this, and it also fitted the prompt of Borrowed, I thought that's the perfect opportunity to include this book for my June reading, Der Klavierschüler, the Piano Student by Lea Singer. So these were my 7 books with which I hope to fill no, I mean, if I read them all, I will fill 2 bingos. Again, happy birthday to the Reading Women, to Kendra and Autumn. I think you're doing fantastic work, and I'm so happy that you started this podcast and keep going at least for another 30 years so that we can add a 0 to your birthday party. And to you, the viewers, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know whether you are planning on participating in the Reading Women month in June, and let me know your picks if you do. Or talk to me about any other bookish stuff in the comments, and I will see you all soon in the next one. Bye-bye.